I'm Jeanette Noel, and this is my lesson plan on transcription and translation for Dr. Brown's course. This will be about, the lesson itself is about transcription and translation, allotted for 45 minutes. The central focus is on transcription and translation of DNA and RNA. My objectives and standards, they come from my Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills standards, and so they have that the student knows mechanisms of genetics, such as the role of nucleic acids and the principles of Mendelian and non-Mendelian genetics. Therefore, the student is expected to explain the purpose and the process of transcription and translation using models of DNA and RNA. The learning objective directly derives from this, but it also incorporates what I would like the students to be assessed by and how can they show that they've learned. So students will be able to design a model of DNA and or RNA transcription or translation, depending strictly on the question, by completing a model that answers a question to 80% accuracy. My materials, they're more so just based on what students will already have at their desk, such as their daily constructing supplies, such as pipe cleaners, markers, colored pencils. I just always feel like science is big on kinesthetics, so to have something that students can put into action, take these words and make into action. I always like to have that type of supplies available. But then you also want to have your lesson plan, textbook, DNA and RNA, transcription and translation PowerPoint, the worksheet, rubrics, and anything that associates with the lesson itself. I have my classrooms set up so that there is a science exploration corner where students can touch on the models. I like to have my desk situated by the door so students can feel welcome to when I come in the classroom and they see a teacher sitting there who is attentive at their work. Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and just go into class. I see my teacher looking at me. You know, I was that kid in school. But then you have the whiteboard, and that is to the front of the classroom. Students are clustered. I feel like this helps them reference each other more. And then there's the computers as well. Students will be able to separate themselves if need be. Not all students work in groups well, so that's why it's varied set up that way. Now, I do have heterogeneous groups for my classroom. I feel like students who have different capabilities, they help strengthen one another, and students who have different backgrounds, they add new ideas or bring different ways of thinking to the classroom, and that really does help with learning, because there shouldn't be just one way of thinking, and sometimes we learn better when we instruct. To begin the lesson, I like to open up with reviewing old facts. This helps to make sure students know that what we're learning today, it does tie into what we have previously learned. And then what I'll have them students complete from there is a daily journal activity. With the daily journal, I feel like this is something that's routine. Students know what to expect every day they come into class, and therefore this gets them ready for the day. And also it allows them to jot down any ideas that they may have. It's not a strict answer, yes or no. It's a thinking process. It's critical thinking before the lesson. I like to give myself what's known as a guiding question. It helps me link what the past question was or what the past lesson was to the new lesson, and how this can eventually be a precursor for the next lesson. With lesson delivery and guided practice, I like to give out the worksheet during my lesson, because I feel like the worksheet helps students to not feel like they're under pressure to get the right answer. I think they would more so give the right answer if they have, number one, the answer in front of them, but then number two, understand that this is a resource for later in life, such as it's a review for the next unit, or help on their homework, or even help during the guided practice. It's a tool and not a grade, and that I feel like is very important. Let's see, and then you can just check for completion on the worksheet itself. During the guided practice activity, you want to stop by and listen to the groups, ask them if they have any questions. Hey, what about this? Or Did you think about doing it this way? Or how does this enhance your learning? Ask those driving questions and then also be able to answer those questions. And by having that one-on-one time and not so much a broad classroom, it really does help benefit the student as far as what they're learning. My task analysis, I am big on students being able to do something that is hands-on. I feel like there's so much science information that's being thrown at you, all these new vocabulary words and processes, and I'm creating this little drawing, but I'm hoping it's sticking. But actually being able to have a question presented to them and then answer that question and then show how it answers that question, it creates a lifetime or a stayed learning that's gonna continue with the student beyond the course itself or the lesson that day. So I will have students to label their models, and then students will be able to explain their questions to not just me but also other students. We should all be able to teach each other and show each other what we mean. And hey, peers have been known to help each other. It's that simple. For the independent practice, more so this is like where I do the homework at. And when it comes to homework, I don't like to include things that are going to make it more difficult. Like I wouldn't have students complete the Venn diagram in class and then they go do the project at home, because that question is new to them. They don't know how to get started, and this is going to leave them with more questions and answers and frustration, and sometimes feel like they haven't learned anything at all. That's just some students feel defeated after a day like that. Let's see. So as far as my lessons and my modifications and accommodations, I always just like to consider that students may not need fill in the blank. They might need multiple choice, or they might need a few of the questions already previously answered for them. You want to include breaks throughout the lesson itself, because breaks give students time to take a breather, process what they've learned, because if you go on too long, at some point La La Land becomes created and it has all these townspeople and all this other good stuff that has nothing to do with the lesson. So breaks are very beneficial to the lesson itself. Some students may need an outline so they can know what's expected of them that day. And I already put the low reading skills. There's also a video included in the PowerPoint presentation, so that helps as well. Like some people will be better listeners than our readers. And then for some students that already have an IEP in place, you can just have their assessment as you usually would do. For the summative assessment, there will be a short quiz that addresses the main points of the lesson and a few details. That'll be like pretty much to close the lesson. It's taking all of 5 minutes because it's a short 10-minute quiz, and it really is like the brief answers, but it gets them used to testing as they need to do for standardized assessments. And then the formative assessment would be the same as what I already included for students while they were doing the hands-on model itself. This is my appendix, so this is what the homework would look like. When you're doing your bubbles, I've included a link to my task analysis, the rubric for it, the quiz, the lesson plan, and the PowerPoint worksheet and presentation. Did anybody have any questions for me? And if you do not, I would like to thank you for listening, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.